Today we will see a story full of drama, faith, and redemption. It is about the incredible story of Joseph, sold into slavery and elevated by God. In this video, we will explore Joseph's fascinating journey, a young man who, despite being betrayed by his own brothers and sold into slavery, managed to overcome adversity and reach a position of great power in Egypt. We will see how, through trials and hardships, God used Joseph's life to fulfill a greater plan, demonstrating that even in the darkest moments, faith and obedience to God can transform our lives. Episode 1: The Origin and Dreams of Joseph. Joseph's story begins in the land of Canaan, in a large and complex family. Joseph was Jacob's favorite son, which caused jealousy and envy among his brothers. From a very young age, Joseph had strange and wonderful dreams that, according to interpretation, were divine messages. In one of his dreams, he saw his brothers bowing before him, and in another, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were prostrating before him. These dreams not only predicted his future, but also ignited the anger and jealousy of his brothers. Imagine living in a family where, despite all your achievements and your special character, you are the object of envy and malice. Joseph, being the beloved son, not only received his father's special affection, but also stood out for his honesty and his faith in God. His dreams, which seemed to be signs of a grand destiny, caused confusion and resentment among his brothers, who felt marginalized and full of jealousy. These negative feelings accumulated over the years, and it is precisely this envy that will trigger the events that will change Joseph's life forever. Despite the tensions and conflicts in his family, Joseph continued to trust in God. His dreams, which seemed like divine messages, gave him the confidence that there was something very special about him. Although at that moment he did not fully understand what they meant, he knew deep down that his future was marked by God's intervention. These dreams inspired him to keep going, despite the difficulties and the jealousy his brothers provoked in him. Over time, Joseph realized that the gifts and talents he possessed not only made him unique, but also were a sign that God had a very special plan for him. Often, when we have skills or talents, some people may feel envy or resentment, and that was exactly what was happening with his brothers. They saw him as a threat, without understanding that what was really happening was that Joseph was destined to fulfill a much greater purpose than they could imagine. This initial stage of Joseph's life shows us that although our gifts may cause conflicts, they are also the beginning of a journey full of opportunities. Joseph's faith and perseverance allowed him to face each obstacle, demonstrating that when we trust in God, He opens doors that seem closed. His story teaches us not to let envy or resentment distract us from the path God has for us, but to see our talents as gifts that propel us toward a great destiny. Furthermore, Joseph's example invites us to value the importance of dreaming big and to keep hope alive even when circumstances seem adverse. Sometimes, what others consider mere illusions are actually clues to the future that God has prepared. Jose's determination to keep believing in his dreams, despite the obstacles, is a lesson on how faith can transform our lives and lead us to achievements we never imagined. Finally, Jose's life is a powerful reminder that God always has a plan for each of us. Although we face challenges and sometimes feel misunderstood by those around us, our gifts and talents are an invitation to trust in the future. Like Jose, we should see each difficulty as an opportunity to grow in faith, to learn and to draw closer to God, knowing that in the end, He will lead us to fulfill our glorious destiny. Episode 2: Betrayal and Sale into Slavery. Jose's brother's betrayal clearly shows how negative feelings can lead to acts that harm both others and oneself. When people let envy and resentment take over, they lose the ability to see reality and end up making decisions that hurt those around them. These dark feelings can cloud our judgment, causing us to act impulsively and destructively without considering the consequences of our actions. This story teaches us the importance of being attentive to what we feel in our hearts. It is essential to learn to recognize when envy or resentment are taking control so we can work on forgiving and releasing those negative feelings. Forgiveness not only helps heal the wounds caused by others, but also frees us from the burden of resentment. By forgiving, we allow peace and kindness to fill our inner selves, instead of being carried away by pain and anger. Finally, Jose's life reminds us that, despite the most painful betrayals, God always rewards faith and perseverance. Although he suffered betrayal by his brothers, Jose kept his trust in God and remained steadfast on his path. This demonstrates that if we are faithful and persevere in the midst of adversity, God will bless us and give us the strength needed to turn even the most difficult situations into opportunities for growth and redemption. Episode 3: Life in Egypt and Jose's Transformation. Upon arriving in Egypt, Jose's life took a surprising turn. Although he was sold into slavery and separated from his family, Jose began working in an unfamiliar land where he faced new challenges and dangers. In this hostile environment, Jose not only had to adapt to slave life, but also distinguished himself through his integrity, intelligence, and faith. God was with him, guiding him every step of the way, even in the most difficult situations. Jose's ability to interpret dreams became a vital tool that opened the doors to a very different destiny. Throughout his life in Egypt, Jose had the opportunity to interpret the dreams of important figures, which earned him the favor of his masters and eventually the pharaoh. This skill was a gift that allowed him to see the future and, in turn, save Egypt from an imminent famine. Thus, from being a slave, Jose became a man of great influence and power in the country. Jose's journey in Egypt is a clear demonstration of how difficulties can be transformed into blessings if faith in God is maintained. Every obstacle and challenge were opportunities for God to show his power and for Jose to demonstrate his character. His story in Egypt is an inspiring example of resilience and how faith can turn even the worst circumstances into moments of triumph. Jose not only survived adversity, but also became a key figure in the administration of Egypt, helping to save millions of people from hunger. This transformation of Jose also teaches us about the importance of remaining faithful to our principles, no matter how difficult the situation. Despite injustices and hardships, Jose never strayed from his faith in God. His integrity and trust in the divine plan allowed him to overcome slavery and attain a place of honor. Jose's life in Egypt is a testament that if we trust in God and act honestly, we can change the course of our history and reach great heights, even when circumstances seem hopeless. Jose's life in Egypt was a great challenge that helped him grow and strengthen his character. During those difficult years, Joseph learned to face injustices and hardships with humility, and he realized that through forgiveness, inner peace can be found. Over time, he understood that not everything in life can be controlled, and that trusting in God's providence is essential to move forward, even in the darkest moments. Additionally, every obstacle Joseph faced became a valuable lesson. Instead of seeing adversities as punishments, he saw them as opportunities to learn and improve as a person. This way of viewing difficulties allowed him to grow and mature, preparing him for a future full of blessings. His experiences in Egypt taught him that although the path may be very tough, each challenge is an opportunity to draw closer to God and discover new strength within ourselves. Joseph's story in Egypt reminds us that when we trust in God, He guides us and helps us overcome any obstacle. Although the journey of life can be full of challenges, every problem is an opportunity to learn, grow, and prepare for a better future. Jose inspires us not to give up, to stay firm in our faith, and to see each difficulty as a step toward fulfilling the great plans that God has for us. His life is an example of perseverance and how, despite adverse circumstances, we can achieve victory if we trust in the Lord's promises. Episode 4: Jose's Rise and Family Reconciliation. Jose's fate took an even more surprising turn when, thanks to his wisdom and ability to interpret dreams, he gained the favor of the pharaoh and was elevated to a position of great power in Egypt. From a slave, Jose transformed into the second in command of the country, responsible for managing resources and preparing for the impending famine. This promotion was an undeniable proof that through faith and perseverance, God can radically change our lives. Joseph's ascent was not only a personal triumph, but also demonstrated that God's plan is perfect and that even in the darkest moments, He works in our favor. The power Joseph achieved in Egypt not only allowed him to survive, but also opened the doors for reconciliation with his family. During the famine, his brothers went to Egypt in search of food, unaware that Joseph had become a man of high position. The emotion and drama of the reunion are an essential part of this story. Although initially Joseph was reserved and silent about his identity, he eventually revealed himself and forgave his brothers, demonstrating a heart full of mercy and wisdom. This act of forgiveness and reconciliation is one of the most moving moments in the Bible and teaches us that, through forgiveness, we can heal the wounds of the past and build a future full of hope. Joseph's reconciliation with his family is a powerful example that forgiveness can transform lives. Despite the pain his brothers caused him by selling him into slavery, Joseph chose the path of forgiveness instead of resentment. This act not only restored family unity, but also marked the beginning of a new era for his entire lineage. Joseph's transformation from slave to leader, and finally to a merciful father who embraced his brothers, is a lesson on how God can redeem even the worst betrayals and turn them into opportunities for healing and unity. Jose's story reminds us that forgiveness is one of the most powerful virtues we possess, and that through it, we can find peace and redemption. This part of the story also teaches us about the value of faith in the midst of adversity. Jose's trust in God allowed him to overcome enormous obstacles and reach a great destiny, and his ability to forgive those who hurt him is a lesson in humility and wisdom. Jose's life inspires us to stay firm in our faith, not to hold grudges, and to believe in the transformative power of divine love. Every obstacle and betrayal can be overcome when we place our trust in God and allow Him to guide our hearts toward forgiveness and reconciliation. Episode 5. Lessons and applications for our lives. Jose's incredible story offers multiple lessons that we can apply in our daily lives. First, it teaches us that regardless of the circumstances, God always has a plan for us. Although Joseph was betrayed, sold, and endured many trials, God used him for a greater purpose. This story reminds us that even when we face moments of pain and adversity, we must trust that God can transform our situation and lead us to a glorious destination. Every obstacle is an opportunity to grow, learn, and draw closer to our Creator. Another important lesson is perseverance and faith. Joseph never lost hope, even in the darkest moments of his life. His ability to remain faithful to God, despite being betrayed by his own family and experiencing slavery, shows us the importance of staying firm in faith. Joseph's story inspires us to keep going, not to give up when things get tough, and to believe that with God on our side, we can overcome any challenge. Your life is a testimony to the power of faith and how it can open doors that seem closed. Additionally, Joseph's story teaches us about the value of forgiveness and reconciliation. Despite suffering a great betrayal, Joseph chose to forgive his brothers and restore family relationships. This act of forgiveness was not only a display of his big heart, but also a sign of the transformation that God can work within us. Forgiving does not mean forgetting the pain, but freeing the heart from the burden of resentment and allowing peace and love to flow into our lives. This lesson is essential for anyone who has faced betrayals or wounds, as forgiveness is the key to moving forward and building healthy relationships. Finally, Joseph's story reminds us of the importance of trusting God's plan. Sometimes, what appears to be a tragedy or a great injustice turns out to be part of a much greater divine plan. Although Joseph was sold into slavery and suffered terrible injustices, in the end, his destiny was to rise to a position of great power and responsibility, becoming an instrument for the salvation of many lives. This truth invites us to be patient and to trust that even if we do not always understand the path God charts for us, He always knows what is best. Trusting in God allows us to face the future with hope and determination. And so concludes the astonishing story of Joseph, a tale of betrayal, suffering, faith, and redemption that continues to inspire millions of people around the world. I hope this video has helped you better understand how, through trials and difficulties, God can transform our lives in unimaginable ways. If the story of Jose and the lessons it leaves us has impacted you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. I would love to hear your opinion. Which lesson from Jose's story impacted you the most? How do you think you can apply these teachings in your daily life? Leave your comments below and share this video with your friends and family so they can also discover the transformative power of faith in God. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you abundantly.